Hi, everybody. It is 5:30 p.m. on September 8, 2025. Doesn't it feel like it was just September 1st? We're into the second week of September. I see more and more people talking about how time is rushing by, not rushing, you know, speeding ahead. So, hello, Rage Against the Machine. Hi. What do you have there? Dogs or sheep? Not sure. L 2025. Hope you're doing okay. Thank you for dropping some links. I appreciate it. Much appreciated. Andrew Cruz, hello. And been busy with first bit of homeschooling. That must be fun. Sandra Pilar Gill, hello. Debbie Frotto. Barb in Ohio. Vet for Peace. Yeah, Vet for Peace. Trump actually campaigned on being the peace president. Remember that? Wow. Yeah. Silent Walk, hello. Patricia White, Kathleen O'Brien. Hi, guys. Miss Blanche. Hello, everybody. So we're just going to get right on into it, and we're going into make sure that I have everything right. Do I have everything right? I thought I did. I think I do. Let's see. Do I? You got the video? You have the video. You see these supercells in Kansas igniting. And they're going to be slipping on into North Oklahoma, Panhandle area. Florida, you have the weirdest looking storms. Just want to make sure. Everybody? Anybody answering me? I think I'm okay. Okay, good. Thank you, L. George, hello. Feels like everything is an indescribable experience. 5 by 5. Okay, good. So, looky here. And North Minnesota, Northeast Minnesota. Oregon, you have a line. I hope it doesn't activate in real serious supercells for you. Kansas, you're not looking good. And Miami area, southeast Florida area. What is going on here? It looks like, oh wow, you have more supercells igniting in a nice line off the coast of Florida into the Gulf. You have these strange looking, I don't even, precipitation supercells with tails. I don't know. But you got a lot of supercells here in Florida, and you have extremely low frequencies blasting away right in the area where you've got supercells, southeast Florida. Oh, don't you wish more people were talking about these frequencies that are very visible, extremely low frequencies? Oh, a supercell ignites in the panhandle of Florida. And look at the extremely low frequencies here in Florida. Texas, sorry. This one coming out of Alabama, hitting directly into that supercell. We also have strange looking precipitation off the coast of the Atlantic into the Atlantic. Oh, so much is so obvious. Just so look at Southern California. Are you all just zombies there? Because this has been raging for years, years. Every day you have these extremely low frequencies, and sometimes they're blasting, like they're blasting right now. Well, I hope you're all well. All of the storms are out of the Northeast, but let's take a look. 9 active severe weather warnings for Kansas, Oklahoma, Oregon. Oregon, didn't I just say I hope? I hope, but they may bring about some severe weather for you in Oregon. All right. And Texas. Oh boy, man, oh man. Tornado warning, Harper County in Oklahoma. Another tornado warning, Clark County in Kansas. Tornado warnings. It is September. That needs to be questioned. Kansas also has severe thunderstorms, which can bring about tornadic activity, very large destructive hail, hurricane winds, downbursts, microbursts, flash flooding, Barber, Comanche, Kiowa, and Pratt counties in Kansas, Alfalfa County in Oklahoma, Umatilla in Oregon, Union County in Oregon, and Dallam, Hartley in Texas, Kingman in Kansas as well. So be very careful. Flash flood warnings, you guys in Oklahoma and Kansas. Oh man, it just never stops. Flash flood warning. All right, Hutchinson, McPherson, Lyons, Sterling, Sylvia, Burton, Abbeville. All right, all the way on up. Is that still Kansas? I think it is. Yeah. Well, they sure have done a number on the farmers with the economy and the tariffs. But now, with all of this weather, they are destroying a lot of farmland. And wow, what is going on? Kansas, Oklahoma, right on into North Texas. Severe thunderstorm watch. You have flash flood warnings on the coast, Virginia Beach area, Newport. You also have it in North Carolina. That is coastal flood advisories all the way down, right on into Florida. And that area where you've got a lot of these supercells in Florida. Flash flooding possible, heavy rainfall, intense hourly rainfall of 2 to 4 inches. The urban corridor of southeastern Florida for another 2 to 3 hours. Flash flooding possible. Miami area, Fort Lauderdale, right on up to West Palm Beach, all the way down north to Homestead. These are special marine warnings off the coast of Georgia and the panhandle of Florida. Lake wind advisory, Nevada. Dense smoke advisory, California and Nevada. Oh, boy. Well, you have, I think these are What are these? Frost advisories for Maine, North Maine, for New York, Utica area, Plattsburgh, Adirondack area, Leiden, New York, Oneonta, Norwich, frost advisories, Pennsylvania into St. Mary's, all the way down to Weedville, and up into uh, western New York, all of these areas. So if you've got a garden and you live in any of these areas in New York, Pennsylvania, frost advisories, Woodstock, wow, that's coming down pretty south, but also in Maine, Vermont. I would, click on the link, which I will provide right now. See if your area, if you don't know a frost, it might be coming, and you have a garden out there. I know that you have to do some things with your garden to make sure that it's okay. So weather-wise is in the chat, the link, and the alert page link in the chat, and radar. Yeah. And again, it's like every YouTube meteorologist that I'm seeing posting videos, they're talking about, well, major change, a turn is coming. Every, like, if it's not every day, it's every second day, and they're so surprised. Yeah, freezing rain. Well, let's go to one. Weatherman Plus. This weather is about to change in a big way. So the cooler temps that a whole lot have been experiencing, well, it's going to get really hot again. So these temperature changes affect our immune system and affects all life.
Our weather is about to change a ton, everyone. Bringing our temperatures, bringing storms, also what's going on in the tropics. I'm still showing for the next 7 to possibly up to 10 days. We still have no formation in the tropics, even though we see these strong waves in the MDR. Showing that we still have this front that's coming through, and this will be a stationary front, bringing a lot of heavy rainfall still towards the southeast, mostly on Florida. But this is going to shear up anything that tries to come into the Western Caribbean, into the Gulf for the next 7 days. But we're also getting this big high dome of heat that's going to sit right over the central U.S. You're going to be cooler on the West Coast. You're going to be cooler because of this front towards the East Coast. But the central U.S. is really going to go up in temperatures as we go through this week. And by this weekend, you could be sitting in 90s, even 100-degree temperatures for a lot of states. Now, after this weekend, I'm still showing we have a big transition coming, everyone. This big high dome of heat is going to move out the way, and that's going to make for a lot of chances for these storms to form in the Caribbean, in the Gulf. And we still have a lot of favorable environment coming through on our MJO. This will help storms grow quickly. And we also have severe weather for today and for tomorrow, even chances for isolated tornadoes for today, for this evening. I will go through the latest information now in this video, and we're going to start off with the temperatures you're going to deal with for this week. Now, you can see from the vorticity map that this front is going to sit there and come really good as you go Wednesday into Thursday, still bringing a lot of storms along portions of the East Coast, but mostly over here for Florida, going into the Bahamas, while you get that cooler air coming along the West Coast. But you see that big dome of heat that's sitting in as you go from Wednesday on. And that's going to sit there as you go all through the weekend, get strong. Then as you go through next week, this is where it moves out the way and allows for things to come from the Central American Gyre and still going into Gulf or into the Eastern Pacific. showing as you go all the way towards the middle of the week, you're going to get a little bit of heavy rainfall for Minnesota, for Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan, but it does add up towards Florida going into the Bahamas. And as you go into the weekend, then you can see that trough coming in, bringing more rainfall towards the western U.S., but it keeps adding up for Florida and the Bahamas. For Florida, once you go from Wednesday into the weekend, this is where it really adds up to a lot of heavy rainfall. So this is your rainy season.
Wow.
This is going to create problems with flooding as well. Now you can see the latest on our drought monitor that we do have severe drought over here in this darker orange, even in a few places towards the central U.S., Tennessee, Kentucky Valley. But we get started getting towards that extreme drought towards southeastern Florida. So this is really going to help out with your drought. But you're going to see over here for southern Texas, going through western Texas, through the western U.S., you have severe drought in the orange. You have extreme drought in all of that red. But once you get towards that darker red, that's where you're getting towards exceptional drought. But this is going to change our temperatures dramatically. So you can see for this morning, you still have a lot of cooler air towards the Midwest and Great Lakes, going across the Tennessee, Kentucky Valley, out through the Northeast. You can have some for portions of the Northwest, but it's going to start warming up just a little bit. But as we go through the week, the cold air is going to start sticking only towards the East Coast and the West Coast. And we're going to start seeing a lot of high 90s, even hundreds degree temperatures coming through the central U.S. for the northern and southern as you go through Thursday, Friday, and overnight. It's still going to be cool towards the Northeast and the West. But during the day, the center of the U.S. is really going to start getting cooking. Now, the good news about this heat is a heat dome is a big high pressure that's bringing a lot of circulation towards clockwise, towards the west. So any tropical waves that tries to go past this shear will get pushed towards the west because of this high pressure. But once again, when this high pressure leaves, we're still going to be sitting on a little bit of a front. But whatever sneaks under this front as far as tropical waves will start forming around the Central American gyre. So as we go into this weekend and early next week, we're going to see things changing in the tropics. Now, showing that the heat gets worse.
All right, so the heat gets worse September 14th. All right. Weather modification playlist on this channel. Over 300 videos educating on the very many methods to create the weather that we are experiencing, the temperatures that we are experiencing. Oh. Confirmed. Multiple tornadoes across Massachusetts Saturday. Multiple. Okay, multiple. Yeah. Doesn't that need to be questioned? On the weather modification playlist, several videos on how man the methods, plural, to create tornadoes. EF1 tornado in Paxton. Then another touchdown in Holden, also an EF1. Came out of nowhere. These tornadoes, they came out of nowhere. What a surprise. Trail of destruction in central Massachusetts. It's not the kind of destruction that we've seen in Kentucky and in an awful lot of areas. But nonetheless, you know, there were people who experienced trees on cars, trees on homes. Look at this. Look at this massive tree. Rips up all of the lawn. And it's not just one, but it's two, and it's three, and it's... That does not look like a healthy tree. Oh boy. That is a huge tree with pretty small roots. that may have done damage to this home. Oh man, tornadoes in Massachusetts. Yeah, our weather really needs to be questioned. Really needs to be questioned. Look at all of the fungal disease on this tree. Alrighty then. U.S. Army, Yuma, Arizona, recovers from monsoon damage. Look at this. Look at the roads. Okay. New Jersey, a whole lot. 77% of voters worried about extreme weather damage. You should be. You should be. Look, the hail broke out these windows, tree falling on a car, and doing an awful lot of damage to this home or business. And so September 8th, now more than 3/4 of New Jersey voters are concerned about the damage. Well, you don't want to have to live this, especially today with the inflation, with how hard you have to fight your insurance companies for what you do. Forget about the government. And this home, okay, well, they have to find a place, to live, paying rent. If they're paying a mortgage, pay both. And storm damage wipes out power and water for small northern Arizona community.
Western Arizona this weekend is making life miserable for some residents up there. We're told water and power has been knocked out for dozens of homeowners in and around the small community of Meadview. That's up in Mojave County near Lake Mead. Residents there are now under a boil order, which means they should boil their water or use bottled water, according to the Joshua Valley Utility Company. Tonight, we spoke to a woman who lives there. Sherry Woodward told us life has been pretty miserable the past couple of days, and there's no word yet when her water and power will be restored.
Really crazy because you can't flush your toilets unless you get water somewhere and put buckets in your toilet to flush it. I haven't heard nothing if our water's coming on tonight or today. But I don't even think they're working on it still. It's getting late now.
We reached out to the power and water companies, but have not heard back over the weekend. Local grocery stores have been donating water to families to help them out until everything is restored.
Oh, what fun living in this country now. Fallen tree damages Savannah home. And fires out west.
Pockets of dangerous weather across the nation. Wildfires searing through parts of California and Oregon. The Garnet Fire raging in Fresno County, California. Giant plumes of smoke looming over the tree line. And the Pyrite Fire burning more than 500 acres. It's now 48% contained. Crews using helicopters to drop water and fire retardant on the flames.
You can feel the heat.
Traffic congested in Riverside, California. Visibility dropping from thick smoke. Sandra Torres saying driving was dangerous.
It happened quick. 1 minute we're sitting there and it's on the other side of the mountain. The next thing you know, it's like, whoa, it's right here.
And in the Northeast, the cleanup continues after more than 100 severe storm reports Saturday night. You could barely see west of Boston as strong winds and rain battered the town of Natick. The winds toppling trees in Berlin. This drone video showing the extent of the damage from a tornado. Gusts of at least 60 miles per hour bringing this tree down in Glen Rock, New Jersey. And in the southeast, flash floods forcing road closures in Charleston. The smoke and the air quality are going to be difficult again.
I want to thank my subscriber for sending this along. And having heard from a subscriber in Britain, I think the heavy spraying that you guys are now experiencing, I think you had a delayed response, because I don't think it's been as heavy as it has been, certainly last year and this year. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I was driving, with a subscriber just a couple of days ago, and I was saying that the trees are turning here in Arkansas, but I've seen that all over for many, many years. The worrying false autumn phenomenon getting more common in the UK. There are still 3 weeks left of summer, but depending on where you are, you may already be noticing signs of autumn. Oh, really? Summer is not over yet, but depending on where you are in the country, you may have noticed a noticeable change in the landscape in recent weeks. First day of autumn is September 22nd. You may have already spotted berries ripening early, brown leaves falling from trees, hedgerows taking on an unmistakably autumn look. These are all signs of what meteorologists refer to as a false autumn, kind of like a false pregnancy, which is when the stress of extreme summer conditions prompts trees and plants to behave as if the season has changed, even if it is too early. Well, could it also be because of the weather being manipulated? Yes. And I wish that, we had more Brits here to let us know. Has it been very, 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 very hot this summer? Very hot and dry this summer? Well, for sure, it impacts wildlife, the food we eat. It also impacts all life, four-leggeds, two-leggeds, because we actually, even though we're not conscious of it, most are not, the adjustment to the seasons have just a natural timing. Well, the natural timing of everything is off now. And we know why. How about American bees versus China bees?
A silent collapse is underway in America's farmlands. Honeybees are dying by the millions. Yet halfway across the world, China's bees are buzzing stronger than ever, reaching record highs. So why are U.S. hives collapsing while China's colonies thrive? We uncover that in our next report.
They are tiny wings that keep the world fed. Honeybees, nature's most tireless workers. 1/3 of all crops on Earth depend on their pollination. Without them, supermarket shelves would run empty. We would find it difficult to put food on our plate. Yet, in the United States, an alarming die-off is unfolding. From June 2024 to January this year, the U.S. lost a staggering 62% of its managed colonies, the worst collapse ever recorded. Beekeepers opened their hives to silence. No buzzing, no swarming, just empty combs. Scientists traced the culprit in June. Viruses carried by varroa mites, a parasite that clings to bees. For decades, American beekeepers fought infestations with a chemical weapon named amitraz. But the mites adapted, developed resistance, and left colonies defenseless. The result, a wave of death spreading across U.S. farmland.
It couldn't have anything to do with all the poisons that are being sprayed, including glyphosate. It's not just happening in Canada, but it's happening all over. And all of the toxic nanoparticulates, the aluminum, the barium, the strontium, yada, yada, yada. And how about those electromagnetic frequencies as well? Glyphosate sprayed, it stays on the leaves. It's like a permanent little shelf. So you have all of the insects that are going to pollinate the plants, but it's a mite, okay? And the mites have grown and a tolerance to what they used to, I guess, use to kill off the mites. I call bullshit. What the hell just happened? Plane makes hard landing in Caribbean.
This morning, dramatic moments after a WestJet flight made a hard landing on the Caribbean island of St. Martin. The Boeing 737-800 flying from Toronto with 164 people on board, appearing to bounce after landing, tipping to the right, then skidding down the runway, smoke trailing behind its landing gear. There was no fire, but emergency crews sprayed foam around the plane as a precaution after the rough landing. Passengers evacuating down emergency slides. Authorities say out of an abundance of caution, 3 people were taken for medical evaluation.
When I land, I told my colleague, like, damn, like, what the hell just happened? Like, it was a very heavy and rough landing.
The airport is known worldwide for its dramatic low-altitude approaches over the beach that borders the runway.
That's why I'll tell some of our guests, when pilots land in St. Martin, it's a very challenging. It's not really of a heck of a long runway. So landing here is a bit of a challenge, you know?
Hours after.
Nobody thought to extend, the runways to make the landing less challenging. All right. Man, they really do not want people flying. They don't want people driving. They don't want people flying. And unfortunately, it's going to come down to they're keeping you safe by making sure you never get on a plane again. And London's Heathrow Airport evacuated after hazardous materials warning. How many times has this happened? Hello, you guys in the UK. I know that it's happened once before, not too long ago, and here we are again.
As quickly as possible. We are dealing with a significant incident inside Terminal 4, which is why we've evacuated you out of the building for your safety. Unfortunately, I don't have any further updates at the moment to when I can bring you back in the building. As soon as I do, I'll come back out and give you an update, but we do apologise.
What a freak. Bring them.
Excuse me, sir.
Just to try and keep you warm. If you do need to use the toilet, you can drop down in the grey block along here to level 1. You can then cross into arrivals, and that will, there's the toilets there. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry I can't give you a further update at the moment, but as soon as I know anything, I will come back to you.
You want to talk major disruption to travel going on all over the world, but especially in the US of A. in Western countries, UK. Evacuate the building. There's a hazardous material. Do we even know what it is? Possible. It's possible there were hazardous materials. There are so many water main breaks all over the country, and these water main breaks now are becoming very vicious and flooding out people's homes.
Now at 6:30, a water main break in Fullerton sends a 50-foot geyser shooting into the air. The rupture caused a dangerous sinkhole along the residential street, leading to an hours-long water shutoff to more than a dozen homes. People who live in the area say that this isn't the first time old water pipes have caused problems in their neighborhood.
Lindsay Pena live for us in Fullerton tonight with more on this. Lindsay.
Yeah, Rick, Karine, this is about as close as we can get to that sinkhole right now. You can see it's still taped off. There's heavy equipment and workers just beyond that equipment. They've been out here for hours trying to repair the damage. The good news is, as you can see, the water has stopped flowing, but it looked very different earlier. Take a look.
I hope that home is okay.
Now, this all happened around 1 o'clock in the 1800 block of West Las Lanas here in Fullerton. Neighbors walked out to see that giant geyser of water shooting out in the middle of the street. The people living in the home closest to the sinkhole didn't want to talk on camera, but say their cars were damaged because of the water and debris. And they also told me some upstairs windows were open and water got into their house. Several people living here say the city has been repairing or replacing parts of the water main in this area recently.
Oh, so the city has been fixing things, I guess, huh? We've got, and this is just, a fraction of what I see every single day. There are an awful lot of people who are being shot. People are taking out their guns, shooting at people and killing people. Here, this was in Florida, Lakeland mass shooting uncovers gang PPP loan fraud. Boom, 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 crime, crime, crime.
This was just another method for them to line their pockets with money. That was really what it was. It was fraud from the outset.
A mass shooting in Lakeland has led to an unlikely connection with fraud and federal loans designed to help small businesses during the pandemic. Good evening, everyone. I'm Josh Benson.
I'm Jennifer Lee.
Oh, how about a man killed, a woman wounded in a shooting outside McDonald's in Hollywood? How about student dead, another hospitalized after a fight inside Maryville High School. This, I think, is in Arizona.
Where ABC 15 can now tragically confirm that police sources tell us a student involved in a fight this morning at the high school has died. We know it was an incident that led to 2 students being transported to the hospital. We are now told by sources that one of those students has died. Students just released in the last hour or so, coming out and greeting their families and their loved ones, giving them big hugs. They've been texting all morning. We've been talking to parents who've been standing outside waiting, just how nervous they were to finally see their kids again. A lot of them say they're going to have to reevaluate if they want to come back to this school in the future. We are still waiting to learn so many details and so many confirmed details from police. There are lots lots of rumors going around on whether the weapon was brought in through the metal detectors and weapons detectors in here, or if it was something that was already found inside a classroom. We'll have to wait to get those details from police a little bit later.
And yeah, so I have recommended Bunny and Beyond. I'm going to do that again. This is a woman who lives in her van with her dog. And this past year, boy, she has experienced an awful lot of aggression, hostility. Things have changed in our fabulous country. And here, targeted for simply existing while living in a van.
And I stepped out of my van. She saw that I was a van lifer, and that was enough for her to single me out. Not the leash, not my dog, just the fact that I don't fit into the picture they want to see here. This is what it looks like when control trumps community, when compliance is demanded, not earned, when backup is called for a woman with a dog standing calmly beside her van, when laughter from officers follows your fear, and somehow you're the problem for recording it. This isn't about one cop or one leash. This is about power and about how quickly things can escalate for no reason when you live outside the system and they know it. I've lived this way for years, on purpose. But the truth is, the world doesn't want people like me to live outside of its control. Watching me from the moment I stepped out of my van.
Check her out. She posts quite a number of videos. And this past year, she has been experiencing, well, you can't park here now. These are places that are so kind of remote, Arizona, also in Montana. And it's not just the cops, though the authorities do get pulled in, by phone calls from fabulous, your fellow Americans who just love to cause problems for other people. I do not get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. So they're coming for van lifers. She called animal control on my van life dog. Pet safety. Wow. Well, I'm just trying to get that big picture of, what's happening in the cities with cops that are out of control, what's happening in very rural areas with people who then involve the authorities. It's like Americans on the whole are drama queens, and they love to cause a whole lot of drama. Because what, are they just that bored with their own little lives that they, target other people? Well, and, it looks kind of like America has come to Britain. That's it. Angry woman rips wipers off a garbage truck, brawls with the workers. I was watching this. I thought, this has got to be in the U.S. Now you got crazy.
Oh my gosh, she's ripping off the thing. She's ripping off it. Where is that guy gone that was like with her? Oh my gosh.
Should I just go pick her up?
She might hit you, so probably no. What the hell?
I'll hit her back.
She's saying do something.
Hey, just pick her up and move her!
She's benting the thing, man. Oh, she's bent the windscreen wiper. Oh, there you go. And it's gone to the bottom. They're gone. The wipers are gone. Why didn't that guy just pick her up or something? Or that one? Is she actually gone to? Oh man, there. Oh, I heard. Oh, there we go. And that's gone. There we go. Now she's trying to climb onto the thing. She's trying to climb onto the thing, man. The windscreen's ready. Yay! Oh! There you go. Now she's gonna fight him.
My God.
Okay.
I don't.
What is going on, man?
I don't know, maybe it's her dad that went away. Didn't come home with the milk.
That's peak. Now she's shoving it. Oh, what? She's in the whip! She's in the whip! Oh, man! Oh, great. Oh, great. Oh, now she's on to the front.
No. It was dessert. They were very patient. They were very patient. She is pushing their buttons. She is pushing her buttons.
I'm upset right now.
Like, this has been going on.
We've just walked very long.
This has been going on for like 10 minutes. No, you missed the finale.
The thing.
All right, so you guys in other Western countries, you can't say anything about Americans that, wow, look at this behavior of Americans. No, what's going on? The first thing I thought of was, is her boyfriend in the truck, an ex in the truck? Anybody know, you guys? Britain, hello, Brits. My God. Oh, so the chaos began when the driver honked for her to get out of the way. Why don't you just get out of the way? I think people are losing it all over. Could be frequencies, could be stress, could be, hey, I've seen an awful lot of people lose it, so I don't care, I'm going to lose it, and I'm not going to have any shame about it. All right. I'm just going to play a few minutes of this, or maybe we'll come back to this. Yeah. How about 8 seconds and dropping? Why short attention spans may be more about motivation. 8 seconds. What, the attention span of a goldfish? I do think technology has had a very detrimental effect, certainly on the two-legged. Cognitive abilities, attention span, especially I think with the scrolling that takes place on Twitter, TikTok. I don't know about Instagram. I don't think Telegram, but a whole lot in the awake crowd know that those things that we hold in our hands are weapons. And we've consented. So a Chinese official has actually called, and this is, you don't hear this from actually Russia and China, went viral starting last week, mocking. See, they don't do this. We in the West are just so used to it. There's no integrity, there's no dignity, and we have fallen even lower than we were decades ago. But I had to listen to this because a Chinese official actually called this woman an idiot. This is an EU commission official.
You know, the Chinese are very good at technology, but they are not that good in social sciences. Versus, you know, the Russians, who are not good at technology at all, but super good in social sciences. So what?
The Russians are not good with technology. Chinese are not good with social sciences. Really? What brought about that social credit system? And the Russians, they have been so good with technology that they were far ahead of the good old US of A. But go on.
What are they doing? All the actors who are trying to make us weaker, they are actually, you know, finding the little fires that are existing in our society and pouring fuel into those, and both sides, so that, you know, suddenly you have, you know, really minor issues, really big fires, and everybody's like, where did that come from? In the age of social media, especially the attention span that people have, it is very easy to ignite people, to be against something, and this is very hard. I don't have you know, a formula how to address this and get it all right, but I think it requires an effort from all of us.
I don't, what do you say? These people are given a platform. The Russians are not good with technology. Alrighty then. Lumber prices are flashing a warning sign for the U.S. economy. Wood prices are sliding on the stock market, and mills are cutting back because of uncertainty over tariffs and a building slump. Which, what then happens? Lumber prices go up. You have an awful lot of people who are having to repair their homes. Wood markets have been whipsawed of late by trade uncertainty and a deteriorating housing market. Oh, make America great, yeah. Wow. Outlook for job seekers suddenly craters to record low amid steady inflation expectations. Okay, good. We're seeing more and more, especially mainstream media. I guess they can't bullshit anymore. Trump's job market promises fall flat as hiring collapses and inflation ticks up. But you'll still hear those in that administration talking, you know, talking up the economy and it's great and it's fine. They're lying. They're lying, Americans. Don't you know that? Oh my God. Before, you know, we get picked up and thrown into a concentration camp, our fellow Americans are just going to kill us with their refusal to acknowledge anything real, making our lives very surreal. Trump family adds 1.3 billion of crypto wealth in the span of a couple of weeks. Well, that's why Trump thinks the economy is doing fabulously, because he is doing fabulously as the president. Oh, well, we know that presidents have lined their pockets. We know congressional, the representatives in Congress do the same thing. Trump has really He's just put it on steroids, bringing in that wealth, selling out the presidency. Americans are fine with it. All right. Again, an update on the Hyundai plant in Georgia. And I'm going to recommend again, Chris, is it Nerland? Let me see. Norland. I recommend highly that you subscribe to this man because he's putting out a lot of very, very good information, information that we need to know. Huge MAGA loss at Hyundai plant. So when you hear Trump and those in his administration are talking about manufacturing, how it's coming back, how actually it was Besant, the Treasury Secretary, on a Sunday morning news, he said when he was being questioned about, well, where is that manufacturing in our country? And he said, well, it can't happen like overnight. It takes time. We've got to build the factories. Okay. A whole lot of the MAGA crowd believe that manufacturing has just, Trump is a miracle worker. He's just brought it all back. Everybody has jobs. Wow. Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, the opposite is true. But he also talks about foreign investment coming into this country, right? Hyundai being one of the investors. But then he lets loose ICE to arrest a whole lot of the workers in the Hyundai plant. Do you think that other corporations and companies in countries all over the world are looking at this and saying, I don't think I'm going to invest in the U.S. because look at what's going on. Here we are. It's very easy. It's very plain to see that Trump was selected to bring this country to its final nail in the coffin, everybody on their knees. My God.
So I want to give you an update on the ICE arrest at the Hyundai plant and also Trump's global trade war with the tariffs, as both of these stories are deeply connected. Trump has his people out trying to defend the tariffs. And this is Scott Bessent. You got to see it for yourself. He's asked point blank who pays the tariffs, basically. Let's watch.
Is at a new high.
Hasbro says they're going to have to increase their prices. Goldman Sachs says 86% of the tariff revenue collected so far has been paid by American businesses and consumers. So just bottom line, Mr. Secretary, do you acknowledge that these tariffs are a tax on American consumers?
No, I don't.
Even though you have companies saying they are going to have to increase prices, and given the fact that 86% of these tariffs so far have been paid by Americans.
You're quoting Goldman Sachs. So
yes, Goldman Sachs, correct.
I made
Which
a good,
I said, yeah.
I made a good career trading against Goldman Sachs.
Okay, all right.
It's like, how do you talk to these like blatant liars? And she actually asked him several times who pays the tariffs, and he just like keeps dodging it. Then she would quote, well, this company says we have to pay, this company says we have to pay, and this company says we have to raise prices. I mean, you guys already know this stuff. And please write in the comments who pays the tariffs, the American consumer and American companies. And then I also want to point out as well, which you actually have people trying to convey to Americans the damage that Trump is doing, because there's a lot of people that don't get it. But some people do get it. So I want you to listen. This is a point of view from American Reporter talking about how Koreans see the particular situation regarding the ICE arrest. Have a listen.
There is an astonished and floored feeling that people have looking at this video released from ICE, seeing fellow South Korean citizens with chains around their waists led away in handcuffs. When you're talking about a key American ally right next door to China in this critical part of the world that's trying to help out American industry, I cannot stress enough to our American audience and people watching around the world the feeling of betrayal that is emanating from all corners of South Korean society.
And this is sort of why I talk about with you guys. I'm American. My wife is Korean. I live here in Korea, and these are the images that they've been showing us on the news, which is like, basically ICE comes in, arrests a bunch of workers. And remember, the whole thing was Trump's like, okay, I'm going to put tariffs on foreign goods. I'm going to try to encourage foreign companies to come build, manufacturing facilities in USA. And so then when they come and build manufacturing facilities in USA, like you face getting arrested, detained. And then there's this other detail of the story that just came out just a few hours ago. The basic gist of it is after you get detained, you have a choice, actually two choices. The first is leave immediately, but then you face a 5-year ban of ever coming back to the USA, or you can stay detained and then you'll get a trial within, I think, 4 months. And then you have 10 days to decide. Okay. And so they were talking about on the news here, again, I'll repeat it. You have 10 days to decide. They arrest you and they say, okay, you got 10 days to decide. And then also it's been really difficult for them, the workers to contact any lawyers or that stuff like that, because ICE arrested so many people all at the same time. And they give you two choices: leave right away, get a 5-year ban, stay in detention. Maybe you get a trial in 4 months. I mean, and you got 10 days to decide, and they're trying to scare people basically. In our news, they've been showing the detention center quite a bit. And this gentleman was actually talking about, I think he's a professor maybe, but he was talking about how the detention centers are really expensive in USA. And we're talking about the private prison system here, where, the private prison systems are profiting off the whole Trump or ICE thing. The whole thing's absolutely wild and crazy. It's deeply corrupt. There's, a lot of problems embedded with this stuff. This is Besant talking about, trying to encourage foreign direct investment. Listen.
A manufacturing renaissance, he called it. But since he announced them in April, the U.S. has actually lost 42,000 manufacturing jobs. Are these numbers proof that the tariffs are failing to produce the manufacturing jobs that President Trump promised?
Again, Kristen, it's been a couple of months, and with the manufacturing sector, as you know, we can't snap our fingers and have factories built. So what we are seeing is a record amount of investment intentions. We've seen a CapEx.
Right. And so she was giving him numbers of like, the numbers are showing under Trump, you're losing manufacturing jobs. And then Besson's like, wow, just give it time, because we can't just snap and bring the factories here. And then that's why I'm showing you this stuff where, so then a Korean company like Hyundai is like, all right, we'll build some facilities there. And then they start arresting the Americans, ICE, the Trumpers start arresting these people. And then in Korea, they're showing us reports of like, hey, this is the private prison that our people are being detained at. And they're out front and they're talking about it's hard to get into them to talk to the people. Then I guess when they did talk to some of them, they were saying the facilities were cold. It was like a prison. I mean, it's just this whole thing is asinine, right? And what message does this send around the world about doing business in USA? Like, can you do business with these people when you risk, if you send people from your country to do, again, set up shop in order to train Americans, to give Americans thousands of jobs, is what we're talking about here. And then you face going to prison. That's what they've been talking about on the news here in Korea. Like, how would you, and then they give you like 10 days to decide on whatever deal. Isn't the whole thing crazy? And then I want to show you guys this. This is coming from Bloomberg. They were talking about the whole private prison system. And there's like this network around there. So the orange are the private ones. The green are the public ones. You don't know, this is big business in the USA, private prisons, right? Because you got, they were talking like it could be as much as $500 a day to detain someone. I mean, it's just, there's just so much money involved with this stuff. I'm sure you guys know this stuff already. It's been reported widely. I just wanted to show you the network of how big this stuff is in USA. And then they lie about tariffs and stuff nonstop. Listen to more what Besant has to say here.
Well, no. That's the fact.
Okay, let's keep moving though, because I want to talk about what U.S. companies are saying right now, Mr. Secretary. The New York Times wrote this about John Deere, the impact the tariffs are having on that company. Quote, last month, John Deere said net income in its most recent quarter was down 29% from a year earlier. Higher tariffs have cost the company $300 million so far, with nearly another $300 million expected by the end of the year. This summer, the company laid off 238 employees across factories in Illinois and Iowa. What do you say to companies like John Deere who say these tariffs are hurting them?
Well, first of all, Kristen, if you're quoting the New York Times, that's not a fair observer. And two, that
Well, but these are statistics.
well, that's
This
one.
is about John Deere,
That's
not
one,
about the New York Times.
That's one company that they have cherry picked. At Treasury, we have about 2 management teams come through a day, and overwhelmingly, we are hearing from companies they plan to increase capex, they plan to increase employment. We are seeing what's going to be a record amount of foreign direct investment, and for every John Deere, we have companies who are telling us.
And so she went through and listed all these companies that are like, hey, we got to pay tariffs. And then Besson's like, wow, but look at all these companies who are investing in USA. And that's why then I have to show you. So then when you have, say, Hyundai investing in USA, then the workers get arrested. I do want to point out, though, that there are Americans who get what's going on here and how stupid the MAGA logic is.
All right. My God. The link is in the chat. You can listen to the end of the video. I stopped at 8 minutes. I mean, look, if people, especially the awake crowd on the red team, if they still refuse to see what Trump is doing, literally destroying this country, they don't want to see it. So just like on the left, they're no different. And their leader, don't say anything bad about him because he's making this country great again. And the refusal to acknowledge reality, that's kind of scary because there's an awful lot of awake on in that red team. So what happened? What happened to them? I don't think anything happened. I think what we were listening to throughout the Obama years from those Republicans who we thought were, awake and actually wanted freedom more, they don't. They're just like the left, no different. Their leader comes in and that's it. That's all I want to hear. I don't want to hear any of the bad stuff. Trump's U.S. Open visit sparks boos and long security lines. Oh, I meant to bring up that video of the booing that was taking place. Trump loudly booed at the men's final on Sunday at the U.S. Open, where extra security caused by his visit led to lines long enough that many people missed the start of the play, even after organizers delayed it. Wherever these people show up, major inconvenience all over the world, because their entourage is so huge and all of the convoy is so huge. And they probably know that a lot of people don't want them to be around, but the U.S. Open is in Queens. It's in, I want to say Flushing, but I don't think it's Flushing. Kew Gardens? Anyway. And Trump grew up in Queens. So you'd think, oh, wow, he's our president and we're so proud of him. No, they weren't. Booed. And apparently he was booed in 2017 when he went to the U.S. Open. And this is his first time back at the U.S. Open since 2017. So there's an awful lot of people who do not like Trump at all. And you can also think, okay, this is New York, and it's, a whole lot of Democrats. But he was booed several times. at the US Open. But interesting, the mainstream media was told to not capture any of the booing. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Don't capture any of the booing, but people have cell phones. So it was caught. Secret Service issued a statement saying that protecting Trump, quote, required a comprehensive effort and it may contribute to delays for attendees. We seriously thank you for your patience and understanding. People missed the start of the men's final. And he was sitting in a guest box Rolex. And he imposed 39% tariffs on Swiss, products, on Rolex. So maybe Rolex was thinking, well, maybe if I cozy up to Trump, he'll take those tariffs off. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. We will hunt you down. We will hunt you down. ICE launches Patriot 2 operation against illegals in Sanctuary City, Boston. And yeah, there's an awful lot of people who are applauding what he's doing. The first thing is you go after the criminals, not those who work, not those who are doing everything right. So the billionaire oligarchs and corporations profiting from ICE's deportation machine. So what Chris was talking about, the major industry, prison, so are detention camps. And this was a very good article. I'm going to read some of it, especially about Palantir. Profiting, Jeff Bezos, Amazon profiting. Everything is a major industry. A massive increase in funding for ICE, including $45 billion for immigrant detention and $30 billion for recruitment and training, bonus pays, and additional facilities and vehicles. ICE's budget for 2025 fiscal year will be around $28 billion, up from $8 billion, making it the highest funded law enforcement agency in the federal government. Corporations and billionaires across the United States have long profited from materially enabling ICE's deportation apparatus, lucrative contracts handed out to billionaires. Yeah, some of these corporate ICE profiteers, Peter Thiel, Palantir, Jeff Bezos, Amazon, GEO Group, to Velo Airlines, Bank of America, AT&T, and other, UPS. Here we go. They're making even more money. Palantir Technologies sits at the core of this deportation machine. Now, as I'm reading about Palantir and how they have all of the technology to literally, on an individual basis, find out who is who, tracking them. Okay, so when they're looking for the dissidents, Palantir mobilizes and weaponizes its data management software to help ICE locate, surveil, and seize individuals. Perhaps more than any other corporation, Palantir is the critical data gathering tool, the indispensable anchor that undergirds ICE's war against the immigrants. Palantir, incorporated in 2003 by Peter Thiel, who is today worth $25.8 billion and serves as Palantir's chairman. Thiel, part of the PayPal mafia group, including Elon Musk, David Sachs, and they're all together with Trump. Thiel is an arch-right libertarian, bullshit. He's a Christian, bullshit, and one of the biggest tech top power brokers. Close backer of Vice President J.D. Vance. Palantir has always functioned as an arm of the U.S. militarist and policing apparatus, from the so-called war on terror to the bipartisan war on immigrants. Its business model depends on gobbling up millions of dollars in government contracts. Its CEO, Alex Karp, worth $15.6 billion, is open about Palantir's goal of advancing a militarized U.S. state aimed at Western dominance, along with steady profits for Palantir. ICE has worked with Palantir for nearly 2 decades and was awarded a $41 million contract to build and maintain an investigative case management system that collects and organizes data culled from a massive surveillance network. Why do you think Doge came about? Elon Musk allowing an awful lot of these people, Palantir, former employees, to come in and collect all of the data on all of us. Palantir's work for ICE is being expanded with a $30 million contract to build a new system, Immigration OS, surveillance platform, to facilitate targeting and enforcement prioritization, which includes streamlining selection and apprehension operations of illegal aliens based on ICE enforcement priorities. Okay. Assist self-deportation tracking. Even those awake on the red team will be applauding this. And they will have, ignored everything that was being discussed throughout the years until Trump about how all of these companies are creating a surveillance system on all of us, but they will still think that Trump is just fabulous. So, Palantir received more than $322 million from government contracts in the first 6 months of 2025, a 12% increase from the same period 2 years ago. And yes, Palantir is interlocked with Musk, Elon Musk. Musk's private equity investor, ally, Antonio Gracias at the Department of Government Efficiency. It is so unbelievably very frustrating, to say the least, but infuriating that we have an awful lot of the awake crowd still supporting this guy. So it goes through a whole lot of those who are profiting. GEO Group oversees an empire of private prisons and transportation, digital monitoring, and they're making a fortune. A fortune. They're billionaires already, making so much money on these private detention centers in California, in Colorado, in Florida, in Georgia, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Texas, Washington, and more are being built. We heard from Noam, the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, which is they will be throughout the country. So if you want to read more, Amazon, Jeff Bezos getting an awful lot of money from his cloud services, Bank of America financing the deportation machinery, Avello Airlines, their deportation carrier, making a tremendous amount of money. They, I guess their headquarters is out of Mesa, Arizona. Telecom companies, defense companies, delivery services. It's an industry. And don't wonder, you can think that they created all of these illegal migrants to actually raise the profits of our prison system. The detention centers are prisons. And to make the wealthy even wealthier. When you have a for-profit private prison system in your country, they want to throw anybody in jail because each head that's behind bars, they make money. And yeah, look at this. I love the smell of deportations in the morning. Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War. That we actually have a president who says this kind of stuff and posts on his Truth Social platform. This, okay, you know that you've been taken over. Everything is about war. Chicago braces for federal crackdown.
Today, fences are up around federal.
My God. Oh, I don't know if you can hear it. I hope you can. I have background noise muted, but I hear it. And this guy with the motorcycle on this block that has that modified muffler, it literally just goes right through. And he goes around the block. Okay. I guess people are either, they don't care about the effect that they have on their communities, or they're so unaware of it.
Federal buildings in Chicago as the city braces for the possible arrival of National Guard troops. Similar to his deployment of troops in Washington, D.C., the president claims federal law enforcement is necessary to crack down on crime. And this morning on social media, the president claimed the nation's capital is now a safe zone. Violent crime in D.C. hit a 30-year low before the federal takeover, according to Washington's Metropolitan Police. But over the weekend, Trump shared this manipulated photo of himself depicted from the movie Apocalypse Now, with a caption that reads, "I love the smell of deportations in the morning," and Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War. Chicago's mayor responded by saying Trump wants to occupy our city and break our constitution. Trump later changed his tone.
We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our city.
Thousands of people in Chicago and D.C. protested the administration's threats over the weekend. And in Aurora, Illinois, outside of Chicago, attendance was down at its annual Mexican Independence Day parade.
He wants everyone to be afraid. He loves to see that people are afraid.
The Department of Homeland Security says ICE raids are now underway elsewhere, including in Boston and Georgia, where authorities detained more than 300 South Korean nationals working at a Hyundai plant. South Korea had previously promised to invest $350 billion in the U.S. Trump is now trying to reassure the East Asian ally by proposing foreign companies help train Americans for jobs.
Okay. So, the words that this guy uses, that he speaks, also is to incite an awful lot of anger and violence. And it's working. You know, look at Pete Hegseth. Okay, he goes off to Puerto Rico. Yeah, everything is violence, war, killing, takeover of the world. A whole lot outside of this country. They can't stand Americans anymore. They can't stand it. And a whole lot in this country, myself included, also can't stand it. These people are the lowest of the low, and let's applaud them. Well, something's wrong.
How we doing, Warriors? I think this might be the single most beautiful picture I have ever seen in my entire life. Looking out at these faces, looking out at this Caribbean, on a floating island of American power, on the front lines of defending the American homeland. Make no mistake about it. What you're doing right now, it's not training. This is the real world exercise on behalf of the vital national interests of the United States of America to end the poisoning of the American people.
So what is he talking about? He's talking about Venezuela. He's talking about Venezuela. There have also been discussions about whether or not to invade Venezuela. Now, could these troops not know what we're doing here? It's not to stop drugs. If that were the case, he wouldn't have to go to Puerto Rico. He would just have to go to the CIA headquarters. You know, it's not far from the Pentagon. But there's an awful lot of war talk about going into Venezuela. So, another very good article, Jonathan Whitehead, the Rutherford Institute constitutional attorney. Link is in the chat. And yeah, this is what's happening. Police state presidency. When rule of law becomes rule by gunpoint, the world will soon understand nothing can stop what is coming. That's a quote of Trump's. From his red MAGA hats to his choreographed rallies, he understands the language of spectacle. Now he has discovered the perfect propaganda machine, AI-generated images. AI allows the creation of endless variations of Trump as warrior, Trump as enforcer, Trump as savior. These images spread across social media, replicated, remixed, and shared until they become familiar, even normalized. And to see that AI-generated video of the Trump Gaza come out, and there was like no backlash, no screaming. How utterly, there's no word. Vile, vulgar, disgusting, immoral. While a genocide is going on, he posts that video. And I said, I think last night, I think a lot of that is just to keep, your finger on the pulse of the American people, see how they will respond. And the American people have flatlined, no response. So we're there. We're already living in a whole different US of A. So the latest AI-generated images of Trump shared on his social media accounts depict him in the militarized black uniform of a SWAT officer. That was one that I haven't seen that I have to check out. Or in police dress blues. These memes are carefully crafted signals of how Trump envisions power in America by force. Everything's by force. These algorithmically perfected images generated to flood the digital landscape and shape the subconscious of millions are neither accidental nor new. They are psychological warfare propaganda that's as old as time. Different because of the technology today. Propaganda does not persuade through logic, it persuades through familiarity, and Trump's AI propaganda machine is doing its job, normalizing the sight of a president in SWAT uniform. Throughout history, despots have used martial imagery to elevate themselves above the people, justify their power by force. Mussolini wrapped himself in the black shirts of his paramilitaries to rally fascist Italy. Hitler carefully staged uniforms and parades, signaled total control of German nation. Stalin, Mao surrounded themselves with martial iconography, not the right pronunciation, to convey power over life-death law. The message was always the same. I am not just your leader. I am your protector, your executioner, your law. How could you look at Trump and think he is anything but what I just read? Trump does not need mass rallies or parades. He just needs algorithms now to do the work of the propaganda ministries. And unlike past dictators who required massive propaganda apparatuses, Trump needs only an internet connection and an AI tool. This may be political theater, but it is also authoritarian propaganda that sends a message that Trump sees himself not as the servant of the people and bound by a constitution that was shredded a long time ago, but as the nation's chief cop, judge, and executioner. And when you see this, especially when the guy makes it so obvious, you're in very dangerous territory. Under a police state presidency, there are no checks and balances, no due process, no Bill of Rights that stands in his way. By collapsing the distinction between civil government and militarized force, the president, self-styled as a SWAT chief, suggests that dissent will not be debated, it will be policed. When Trump dons a SWAT uniform, even digitally, he is telling Americans, this is how I see power, not as persuasion, not as consent of the governed, but as force delivered at gunpoint. And again, I say he makes it very obvious. So when the American people are doing nothing, that's when you get the final takeover. You know, it's upsetting. So these SWAT images is the visual embodiment of a police state presidency, signals raids on the homeless. You know, that's what we've been watching. It signals mass arrests of immigrants and families and splitting up those families, which is what we've been watching. Signals military deployments to American cities. Oh, and Venezuela, what we've been watching. It signals treating dissent as criminality and the opposition as insurgency. It's what we are watching. And we're doing nothing about it. So for decades, Americans have watched the rise of SWAT teams transform America and domestic policing into a militarized state, battering rams, breaking down doors, no-knock raids in the dead of night, armored vehicles patrolling suburban streets, flashbang grenades tossed into homes, and we've done nothing. SWAT was originally conceived for rare, high-risk emergencies like hostage situations, but, well, what are we seeing now? 1980, there were roughly 3,000 SWAT raids per year in the 80s. By the 2000s, the number had skyrocketed to 80,000 annually. 80,000 annually. The result has been predictably tragic. Children injured by flashbang grenades, even infants in cribs. Elderly homeowners killed when they mistook armed agents for intruders. Family dogs shot in the chaos. SWAT culture has normalized the use of military tactics against civilians. It has conditioned Americans to accept armored vehicles on Main Street, black-clad officers in ski masks, battering down doors, neighborhoods transformed into war zones. And a constitution that is ignored in practice, even if acknowledged on paper, is no safeguard. We don't have that. These presidents, Congress, long ripped it to shreds. Constitution was written precisely to prevent everything that we're living today. Concentration of power. This has been going on for decades. No matter how much people were screaming, about the corruption in the 80s, that was, people talk about fascism coming. We've been a fascist country since, certainly since the 80s. Corporations buying off congressmen and women, giving them all of the power. Yeah, that has long been established. Certainly after 9/11, it became very, very obvious. Patriot Act, the National Defense Authorization Act, signed into law by Obama, gutted our due process rights. and nothing could stir the American people. Okay, I'm talking about a huge majority. I'm not talking about every American, but I am talking about the huge majority who just didn't want to hear it, didn't care. Yeah, written to prevent the rise of a lawless ruler who would make himself enforcer as well as lawgiver, executive orders. I give you law after law after law, usurping the power of Congress. And oh boy, our representatives are just letting him do that. This is not merely unconstitutional, it is anti-constitutional. America's existing drift toward militarization. Police departments nationwide already deploy surplus military equipment, tanks, drones, battlefield weapons. We saw a huge amount of militarization of local law enforcement all over the country right after 9/11. And boy, people with badges, oh, you're going to make me more powerful? I'll take it. Federal agencies like Homeland Security and ICE conduct raids that look indistinguishable from military operations. Surveillance technology powered by Palantir and other private firms tracks the movements of ordinary citizens. Protests met with riot gear, tear gas, mass arrests, the carceral prison state rapidly expanding. Trump's $170 billion prison expansion threatens to make incarceration the government's default solution to social problems. And how he behaves, Trump, inciting people to get very angry and violent. The collapse of the economy. Why do you think he wants military all over the country? Military forces are being used for domestic policing. Federalization of the National Guard to suppress immigration protests in Los Angeles, already struck down as unlawful, is a warning of how military power is being recast as domestic policing. This shift matters because it changes how people imagine power. And people are so easily changed in a bad direction. A president who wears a SWAT uniform, even in AI fantasy, is telling the public, I am not one of you. I am over you. The most insidious part, not the shock value, but its normalization that is going on, the normalizing function of it, part of a deliberate strategy to acclimate Americans to authoritarian rule. This has been going on for decades, and you could certainly see it 9/11, 2001 onward, becoming more and more obvious. Military on the streets, of cities, even in the rural areas. They're doing exercises, through LA and other cities. They're taking their Black Hawk helicopters, not just one, but 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, flying low through cities, scaring the shit out of people. Remember that? Military, North Carolina, military doing exercises that they didn't even warn the residents of the area, and suddenly they're hearing all of these, the gunshots and everything, scaring the shit. So it's traumatization along with You just get used to. Get used to the military encroaching upon our space. When Posse Comitatus said no, well, it was Obama who really got rid of Posse Comitatus as well. And we did nothing. Every meme conditions the public to accept what would once have been unthinkable. Today is a picture, tomorrow is a policy, and this is how authoritarianism advances. Not always through tanks in the streets, but through the slow, steady normalization of force as governance. And we're here. Mao did it. Stalin did it. Hitler did it. Mussolini did it. And we ignore it at our peril if we fail to see the danger, if we laugh it off as mere fantasy. We will wake up one day to find the fantasy has become a reality at your door, because it's become a reality already for an awful lot, millions of Americans. The Constitution does not permit presidents to be SWAT chiefs, does not allow them to enforce law by decree, to jail dissenters at will, to treat citizens as insurgents. It insists that the president is a public servant, bound by law and accountable to the people. Well, that was long past. It long past. And the system only survives if we, the people, demand it. And we, the people, well, it was an experiment that failed. Because we, the people, we thought all we had to do was cast a vote for the presidents that were selected. Nothing can stop what is coming, declares Trump. On the contrary, tyranny can always be stopped if liberty lies in the hearts of the people, and it doesn't. It really doesn't. The choice before us is clear. Do we accept the imagery of the president as the SWAT chief? Do we accept these disgusting images? Yeah, we've accepted. We've accepted. I love the smell of deportation in the morning. We've accepted vile behavior, vile, language from these people. Everything is about bully, force, gunpoint. This is the world that you're leaving your children and grandchildren. So, choice before us is clear. The time to decide is now. The Constitution will not defend itself. And unfortunately, Americans have decided. They've decided. They decided long ago. They don't care. And they don't care about their children's future. They don't care about their grandchildren's future. And I'm talking about a huge majority of Americans. Will we be governed by the Constitution? Will we be policed by? We've made our choice. Do you think Americans are going to actually unite somehow? The left and the blue team? The left and the red? The left and the right? The red and the blue? No, they won't. You can't even have adult conversation with Americans because they've been so infantilized. And the condition of Americans on the whole is so piss poor that they walk the low road and have no care for anything. Could have been an incredible country. It really could have been. But we let these psychopathic, murderous criminals to infiltrate everything and take us down. I don't know about you, but the thought of what could have been and the thought of what is, the juxtaposition is so wide. And then to listen to so many people who still think that we had nothing to do with it. We had everything to do with it. We consented all along to our demise. So here we are. And it's also upsetting to see that an awful lot don't want to help those who are in need. We make our choices in life. And those choices, put you on the road of evil or the road of good. So it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. But, it would take a huge percentage of the population to hit the road running tomorrow, tonight, to have any effect on everything that has been going on. And that's not going to happen. So please do what you can to help those in need, and the animal shelters, the food banks. There's not a community in our country anymore that doesn't have an awful lot of people who are freaking out. Get yourself known to be somebody who helps out. It could be something that saves you in the end. So live honestly and speak honestly and be trustworthy and keep your word. No, none of this lying and causing problems for other people because you happen to be a drama queen, and resolve problems that you have with people instead of taking action that leave them devastated or in a worse position. Don't do any of that. And so many people do. So we've got to work on ourselves to be better. Thank you for showing up. I hope to see you tomorrow. Be safe, for sure. Now we have supercells in Nebraska coming on into Panhandle of Oklahoma, into Texas. All right, be prepared and be safe. And on that note, I say good night, good luck. Ciao, guys.